In this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of July 1st. We got X-Men, X-Men, and more X-Men. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle Haas. And in this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of July 1st. Now, for those who don't know, Go Collect puts out a weekly article that analyzes the hottest selling comic books based on movement and eBay sales data. So, like I like to do on Mondays, let's take a look and see what's trending in the market. But before I get into the books for today, if you guys could drop me a like or comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, helps support the channel, do one of those things, and I would appreciate it. All right, that said, this article, of course, is written by Matt Tuck, great contributor to Go Collect. I will put a link in the description in case you guys want to do further reading. But without further ado, let's jump into the article and see what's hot. All right, so like I like to do, let's start here at the bottom at the number 5 spot. And this one is Uncanny XMen number 153, up 942 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, there isn't really much significance with regards to this particular issue, although it does feature sort of a solo story about Kitty Pryde. And we all know Kitty Pryde kind of being the young X-Men character known as Shadowcat, who would then later on, you know, in sort of like the X-Men Gold series and most recently and other X-Men iterations later on down the line would become kind of the leader of the X-Men team. Now, back in the 80s here during this Chris Claremont run here, you would see there on the cover it would have, and now for something completely different, this would be kind of one of those, I guess you would call them a filler book, where she would have her own kind of solo story. And there's no particular reason why, you know, Matt discusses this in the article as well, that this particular comic has gotten hot recently, but because of all the X-Men fervor, because of the excitement surrounding characters like Kitty Pryde, thinking that, you know, she might eventually play a major role in one of these film franchises when we get the X-Men in the MCU. Because one of the problems with her as a character with regards to, say, the film properties is that they always want to set up characters like her or Jubilee to take over, you know, the franchise later on down the line. Like we always see them as an introduction, as a side character behind that of like Jean Grey and Wolverine and Cyclops, etc. But, you know, the franchises never really last long enough for these characters to actually kind of grow into their roles. So that's got a lot of people thinking like maybe Feige's going to want to do something different. Maybe he will bring, you know, Jubilee and Shadowcat and characters like that into the fold right away, and we can actually sort of live with them as being main players on the X-Men team. So I think for that reason, that makes this book kind of attractive, is that maybe in some ways this could be considered one of her first solo stories, Kitty Pryde there. And you gotta like that it says, and now for something completely different, which Matt points out in the article being a reference to, of course, the famous Monty Python line. And as we dig into the numbers for this book, you'll see that there is a fair market value, 9.8s going around the $120 range. And then here at the bottom, again, not a very expensive book, not a very well-known book, but one that you could probably find selling on eBay for $10 or $15 or so, mostly being priced that high because it is a sort of classic old X-Men book. Uncanny XMen 153, the number 5 pick. All right, let's go on now to the next pick here. And the next pick is actually Doorway to Nightmare number 1, up 946 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of Madame Xanadu. Now, Madame Xanadu, she's kind of got ties to the lore of King Arthur and the Lady in the Lake, and she's the sister of Morgan Le Fay. So she's a character that sort of exists within, mythology outside of DC comic books. But she also is incorporated in, of course, the DC universe, and recently it was announced that J.J. Abrams' company, Bad Robot, is going to be developing a series for this character on HBO Max. And like speculators are going to do, once we get the news that something like that is popping off, well, everyone's going to rush to this comic, and this comic absolutely exploded recently because of that news. And as we dig into the numbers here, you'll see that this book is selling at the 9.8 level, fair market value around the $850 range, but you can see right underneath that, we see sales June, we see another June there. And I'm sure that when Go Collect can update their numbers, because this is pretty recent news, this book will actually be pushing that $1,000 range at the 9.8 level. And when we get the series, when we get the show, who knows where this thing is going to be. All right, let's go on now to the next book here. The next book is a very cool one. This is Thor Annual number 6, up 949 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is actually considered the second appearance of Michael Korvac, and also Michael Korvac's origin story. So this book has really taken off recently alongside the Defenders book that features Michael Korvac's first appearance. There's been a lot of speculation that Michael Korvac was always going to make an appearance in the MCU in some kind of way. I was always bullish on this character because, you know me, if you're an Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I think that you're going to find your way into the MCU at some point, and Michael Korvac played a big role in that cartoon. And recently, it was kind of rumored that Michael Korvac might be showing up in the Captain Marvel 2 movie, better known as The Marvels now. So he might be the bad guy, and that actually makes a lot of sense to me because Michael Korvac, for those who don't know, was created by the Kree race. Actually, he was created by the Badoon race, I believe it is, but Earth's Mightiest Heroes kind of did this thing where the Kree created him. And so that would be interesting if that they applied that to the Captain Marvel universe here, because we all know that she's probably going to go up against the Kree in some kind of way. She probably wants to enact vengeance on them, but she's going to need a villain that is powerful enough for her to combat, right? So they got to pick someone who's super, super powerful, and Michael Korvac is just that. And this book right here, Thor Annual number 6, has been super hot recently because of the fact that it's his second appearance and because of the fact that it's his origin. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see 9.8s going around fair market value around the $500 range. Of course, there wasn't a sale recently, but one back in June of 2018. But you can see under that, you see June 21, June. So lots of sales here. Everyone clamoring towards this book. So one that is definitely worth keeping an eye on and might continue to grow once we get Michael Korvac in the MCU. All right, let's go on now to the second hottest book of the week. And the second hottest book is X-Men number 100, up 971 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the classic X-Men cover where we see the old team versus the new team. It's the landmark issue, number 100. Just a great classic Chris Claremont book. And one of the reasons why Matt talks about this one heating up recently is just the fact that there's been such a fervor for X-Men comic books. I think people are starting to realize that because this is a milestone number, the number 100 book is kind of one that everyone wants to get their hands on. This cover alone has been homaged so many times. I mean, this is one of the covers that I feel like is always going to be cover swiped throughout Marvel Comics history because it is so iconic. Not to mention that I just personally would guess that there's a lot of people who are trying to do their Grail runs of X-Men 1 through 100 or whatever that maybe they want to do the Grail runs X-Men 1 through however many X-Men books there actually are. And I feel like 100, because it's a landmark issue, is always going to be something that people want to get their hands on. Not to mention that there's been a lot of discussion recently with all of what's going on with the Jonathan Hickman run of X-Men. There's been a discussion that we're going to get some kind of resurgence of the Inferno storyline. So a lot of X-Men excitement beyond that of people just thinking that they're going to show up in the MCU. But we have to kind of talk about the next book in order to really solidify this kind of Inferno storyline or this Inferno excitement. So let's dig into the numbers now, and we can see 9.8s going around fair market value for the $3,000 range. There was a sale back in March of 2021. And then at the bottom here, you won't see it slabbed at the very low end. But again, a book that I always see being sold around that $75, $80, $90 mark, depending on the deal you can find for yourself on eBay and depending on the grade. All right, let's go on now to the last pick here. And the last pick is Uncanny XMen number 234, up 975 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, there isn't necessarily a main significant thing to this storyline other than the fact that, one, it is an absolute iconic Wolverine cover. There you see him having the brood face with the teeth and the fangs and everything like that. But also, there is a sort of a significant story point to this, where this is actually when Madeline Pryor starts to become the Goblin Queen. And one of the reasons that this has gotten so hot recently is because of that rumor that we are going to get an Inferno storyline in the current rendition of Marvel comic book X-Men. Now, not to give you guys a lengthy history lesson, but Inferno is a storyline that was crossed over between many of the different X titles, incorporated Madeline Pryor, who is a version of the Jean Grey character, who has connections to Mr. Sinister. It's a pretty great read, although a bit confusing at times, but still it would be great to see this in a new rendition in the X-Men storyline coming out soon. And this particular book here had a very important moment as it led to that storyline where we see Madeline Pryor become the Goblin Queen, who would be one of the villains within context to that storyline. So for that reason, I think that this book has been getting pretty hot recently. Not to mention that Mr. Sinister as a character has just been one of those characters that has always been sort of rumored to come next into like sort of the pop culture silver screen space. I mean, they kind of laid some Easter eggs for him already in the Fox franchise, but you know, we didn't get that. We didn't get that rendition of the character in that universe. But when Feige brings X-Men into the fold in the MCU, Mr. Sinister seems like a character that he may want to utilize, because we've already seen Magneto, we've already seen Apocalypse, you know, we've already seen some of the other X-Men storylines like Days of Future Past and things like that. So what's another great X-Men villain and storyline he can bring into the fold? Well, Mr. Sinister slides right in there. So I think there's a lot of excitement around anything that touches Mr. Sinister or Inferno or you know, Madeline Pryor and the Goblin Queen, not just because we might see them in the MCU, but also because there's currently stuff going on with Marvel comic books. But X-Men 234, up 975 spots, is the hottest comic of the week. Well, that is all I have for this video. Those are the hottest comics of the week of July 1st. I don't know, a lot of X-Men hype. It feels like there's always X-Men books on this list. And, you know, it just feels like, you know, X-Men is just one of those properties that everybody has a fondness for them. I feel like a lot of people who are collecting now in a significant manner grew up on that 90s X-Men show or grew up in the 80s reading these, you know, the great Claremont and Byrne comic books. So everybody has, you know, a fondness towards the X-Men. And when we get them in the MCU, all these books are going to the moon. Anyways, drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next video.